be able to improve your focus, to remember more what you read, to be able to read faster. A couple quick, simple things. And I go with tips just because the training would, I would need like a little bit each time each day in our programs to be able to make the shift. But a couple of things you do to get an instant result. Number one, use a visual pacer. Use a visual pacer while you read. What does that mean? It means you're underlining the words, but you're not doing traditional speed reading. Will have your finger or a pen or a highlighter go right down the page. But you're going to miss everything on the left side of the page and the right side of the page. That's why you just get the gist. Or they'll say fancy finger motions like make an S form or a Z form. There's huge pockets of information you're going to miss, but you get some keywords so you feel like you got some scanning gist of what you read. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying if you use a visual pacer, pen, highlighter, mouse on a computer, your finger, as you underline the words, not skipping anything, test yourself. You will read 25 to 50% faster. Right. And don't trust me. What I would recommend everyone do, not to take up time here, is take a book, put a mark in the margin, time yourself for 60 seconds, and just read how you would normally read for 60 seconds. Then when the timer goes off, put a mark in the margin, count the number of lines, and then pick up where you left off using a visual pacer, pen, highlighter, finger, and just underline the words for full comprehension, how you normally do it. When the timer goes off, 60 seconds, put a mark in the margin, count the number of lines. That second time will be 25, 50%.
Wow.
Some people will boost it. And I'm curious, text me.
I'm going to try this.
Yeah. Message me and let me know how much, but most people across board, 25, 50%. And now here's why, all right? Because a lot of people will know what to do, but they don't do what they know. Because common sense is not common practice. We know what we should be doing pretty much, each day to have, to win, right? But we don't do it. And that's why the book was spent a lot of time talking about human motivation, how to overcome procrastination, the mindset of focus. But here's why. First of all, children do it. I get to work with a lot of children. They will naturally, organically use their finger to help keep their focus when they read. Right? Until we tell them not to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying there's a whole conspiracy trying to not keep people educated or anything else like that, but just children will naturally want to do it. Second of all, you do it. Like all the adults listening to this, you actually do it. And you're like, no, I don't use my finger when I read. But if I ask you to count the number of lines you just read, 100% of the people use their finger and just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they know having a visual pacer helps them to focus. Right. Number three, third reason why experiment with this. Number one, children do it, and two, you do it. Number three, it's your eyes are attracted to motion, right? Like if something just ran across the screen or your room, you wouldn't pay attention to me. You would pay attention to what moves in your environment because it's your evolution. As a hunter-gatherer, if you're in a bush hunting, lunch, right? You're hunting this rabbit or carrot, whatever people's diet, I would assume is rabbit on your show. You're hunting this rabbit and all of a sudden the bush next to you moves. You have to look at what moves because it's your survival. Number one, it could be lunch, or number two, you could be lunch. So you have to look at what's in your peripheral field. So if your finger is going through the page like this, your attention is being pulled through the information as opposed to your attention being pulled apart. So it's just how we're set up by movement. Fourth reason why you do it is because it's how your neurology is set up, right? And so really simple, simplistic way of thinking about it. Have you ever tasted a great tasting piece of like something right from the farmer's market? Have you tasted a great peach?
Yeah.
Reality, you're not tasting the peach, you're smelling the peach. That your tongue's not capable of tasting what a peach tastes like. What you're really doing is smelling it, but your sense of smell and taste are so closely linked in your nervous system that your mind doesn't perceive the difference. It knows the difference when you're sick. When you can't breathe out of your nose, what do some foods taste like?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's bland, right? Just as your sense of smell and taste are closely linked, so is your sense of sight and your sense of touch. That if you go to your toddler and you go with your keys, look at my keys, what's the child going to do? Grab them, right? Because they associate, and there is actually a link between sense of touch and sense of sight. In order for them to see it, they have to touch it and feel it, right? And so that when people read using their finger, anecdotally, I'll hear this all the time in our courses. Jim, I don't know what's happening here. Not only reading faster, but I feel more in touch with my reading. In touch, right? Kinesthetically. The other reason, though, it's interesting. If somebody loses their sense of sight, how do they read? They use Braille, right? Their sense of touch. right? That's the link. So these are just some reasons. I would encourage people to give them enough reasons to practice this and test this out, but a 25-50% lift is huge.
That is huge.
We'll spend 4 hours a day processing information, right? That means if you're an employer, half of your team's day is spent processing emails about like business plans, whatever, and that means half their salary is being paid just to read, right? If you could save 2 hours a day, if I could just double your reading speed, save 2 hours a day. I mean, forget about time management. You can make time. If you're saving 2 hours a day, what would you do with those 2 hours a day, right? 2 hours
breathe.
A day, of course. Exactly. 2 hours a day. Of course, that's an amazing answer. 2 hours a day. That's how I party. Party is like reading books, taking naps. But here's the thing: if you're saving 2 hours a day over the course of a year, let me really get to the why. That's how many hours? 730. If you save 1 hour a day over the course of a year, is 365 hours. How many 40-hour work weeks is that? 9. 2 weeks, in 2 months, more than 2 months of productivity you get back saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading, because most of us still reading like we're a 6 or 7 year old, right? And that's why investing in something like that will give you a huge amount of returns. And then put those 2 hours towards, your food, your meditation, your sleeping, your reading, your family, the things that that will make our lives better. So visual pacer. And I would challenge everyone one other thing: when you're reading, if you want greater speed, use your finger while you read. Now, it doesn't overcome subvocalization, but where you're getting that lift is the time you're losing when you're back skipping, because you're not going to back skip consciously when your eyes are being pulled through the information. And then the subvocalization takes training, right? So that's where we wean off, get you doing it less. But the other thing, if you want greater speed, use your finger while you read. If you want greater comprehension, remember going back to those questions, asking yourself questions. Even in school, when I used to do standardized testing prep and everything else, study skills, which we do courses on. It's like a lot of people will read for pages and then, reading comprehension, then be tested. Like, here are the quiz questions, when everyone should just go to those questions first and then read. And they're like,
it's so true.
There's an answer, as opposed to reading 4 pages and then getting the end. It's like, oh, I didn't know that's what they wanted, right? But when we're reading, that's why every single chapter in my book starts with, here, these are 3 questions to ask yourself. So it primes the pump, like, okay, there's a pug dog, there's a pug dog, there's a pug dog. Because if you don't have any questions, you're not going to get any answers. And the fastest way to read something is just not to read it at all. But a lot of people will pick up a book and they don't have an intention or questions they're trying to solve, and then they don't get any answers and they wonder why. And so I would say those 2 things would be a huge lift for everyone listening in terms of saving time reading and also getting more out of your reading by asking better questions.